Impact confirmed. The Slayer has been activated.
Demonic threat level increasing.
Hold the line!
All the power of hell cowering before one man.
id Software presents Doom, The Dark Ages. Available now on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC.
Rated M for mature.
Da 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 da! You sound insane. You realize that? Yeah. The whole world gone crazy! Seriously? Yeah. It's showtime.
So we are finally back into the swing of things here on the Mad About Movies podcast for 2018, wrapping up an eventful year in cinema as we work our way to the Oscars into our episode of the best and worst of the year. And that leaves just a few more movies to talk about. We're covering it this week on the main feed with Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water. We're covering it this week on the VIP feed with The Florida Project. And we're looking ahead to next week as we wrap things up with The Post and Darkest Hour and so on. So, only a few more episodes here on this year of the Mad About Movies podcast, but still a lot to talk about. Hello and welcome again to the show. I'm Kent Garrison, as always, joined by Brian Gill and Richard Barden. Hey, fellas.
Hey, Kento. How are you, man?
It's going really well, and I'm really enjoying the time off. Now that the NFL season is over, my work life has slowed down quite a bit, so this has been my opportunity to catch up on the year and things that I maybe have missed, some movies that I've missed and didn't get to see, and going back and recapping and really taking time on my list of best and worst
Justice
of the year.
League 3 more times?
Yeah, had to go and just confirm that it was the worst movie I've ever seen, and it's confirmed.
The pirated director's cut version, I think.
Yeah, it's worth going to prison for, I think, just to confirm. That's the worst thing.
What are you in
What'd
for?
you get 20 years for? Pirated Justice League.
6 murders.
Yeah.
What are you in for? Well, I just really wanted to find the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League.
I do this kind of ironic podcast, and you're dead. And just immediately.
Yeah. Seriously. That would be my life.
Release the Snyder cut, though, guys. Release it. Because you know it's good.
I don't want to go down this road. We could talk about this the whole time. But I've been enjoying putting my thoughts together. I put more thought into this year than maybe any other year on the show in terms of what my actual list is going to be. Thanks to Letterboxd. No endorsement there.
Ooh.
No, we're not getting paid to say that, but Letterboxd has been a great tool in me helping and moving and changing my list throughout the last couple months. And I'm excited. You guys don't know my list. We're not sharing those with each other even. And we're going to go in the next couple weeks and do that episode. Very, very excited for that. How are you guys rounding out your year movie-wise? Have you seen everything, or is there still a few you're still trying to get to, guys?
I've got 4 left, maybe 5 that I feel like I need to get to before. So I'm knocking out 2 tomorrow. I'm going to see Darkest Hour and All the Money in the World, I think, tomorrow.
Okay.
And then over the weekend, I'll get The Post and Molly's Game. And there's there's 1 or 2 that I need to rent still, and then I think I'll be good. So. Not too bad.
I hadn't
put
put Molly's Game on my list, but maybe I should for the end of the year. I don't know if that's one that I need to see, or if I can get away with not seeing that one for later. But trying to see everything. Still, Phantom Thread's another one that I need to see.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that because it's still. I don't even think it's here.
Comes out on the 19th wide.
Okay,
it's not in Dallas yet. I did check. Not even here, but it's out before the end of the month, and maybe we'll see that before we do our list episode, but we might not do an episode on it until later. But yeah, it's been good times. And speaking of good times, normally, this past weekend was the Golden Globe Awards. And normally, like I said, it's more fun. It's the more fun of the award shows. Everyone's just kind of there, and they're celebrating not only movies, but TV the past year. They're celebrating the art. They're drinking a lot, which they don't typically do on award shows, on network television at least. And it's usually the more laid back of the two and taken less seriously than the Oscars, of course. And there's a lot more opportunity to poke fun and things like that. But this year was definitely different. with the Time's Up movement and why we wore black and everybody wearing black at the awards. And I think it was a pretty uneventful award show, minus the winners and losers, which we'll briefly go over here, just the big ones here. We're also talking about our most anticipated movies of the year tonight, so stay tuned for that. But I wanted to talk about this because I think this Golden Globes, more than anything, will just go down as, oh, those were the Golden Globes that Oprah gave the speech? Oh, yeah, I remember that. Like that, that'll be the main thing people are talking about after this. And other than that, certainly Seth Meyers had his monologue and addressed some things that have been out there and the elephant in the room type situation. I thought he did great with that, but
he should have come out behind a desk.
Yeah,
like all that drama they had with this show. Just wheel out a desk back. I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to stand anymore. I'll just sit back here and tell the joke.
And so it definitely was maybe not overshadowed because certainly the issue at hand is more important than any TV show we made. The way we're progressing in society and as human beings is certainly takes precedent over costume design for some. For me, it does. Not for some. Not for Brian. Big into it this year, especially this year. And so, to me, it was a successful award show. But at the end of the day, I think that's what we'll all think about is kind of the message behind the protest, if you will, and the overarching theme of the night. But I thought it was a celebratory night and people enjoying being good people again, and not being surrounded by creeps. And hopefully eliminating that from people's lives. So, Brian, I know you're big into award shows. Did you host a party, anything like that this year? And what were your thoughts on the Globes?
I didn't, and I've only watched half of the show so far.
Okay.
Which means I will likely not watch the rest of it because it's got an expiration date on it pretty quickly. No, I went to the Mavericks game Sunday night. They were retiring Derek Harper's jersey, who was my childhood hero, and so I took the kid and went and did that instead. And I watched the monologue, I watched some of the awards, and then I've seen Oprah's speech and just kind of tried to hit the highlights. I thought Myers did a really good job with the monologue. The Globes are have become a weird show to host because that really is your only job. Pretty much is just do the monologue, and then they'll cut to you for 30 seconds every 2 or 3 segments. He really didn't have to do just a whole lot, but I thought the monologue was really strong and had some really funny mean spirited jokes, which I love. That's maybe the best part about the Globes is that it gets a little edgier on the jokes because everybody's drunk and is having a good time, and so you can get away with more there than you can at the Oscars. But this year especially, so much of it was geared towards Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey and blah 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 blah. And so those, you can be ruthless towards those people right now because of the horrible things that they've done in their lives allegedly. And but I thought the monologue was really good, and they did an interesting job. I think they did a pretty good job of putting together presenters and so on and so forth. But Globes are a lot of fun. I like the Globes. I enjoy watching the Globes. Don't really, we've talked before. There's not just a whole lot of you can't give a whole lot of credence to the Globes, just like the results wise, because it's not there's not a great direct correlation between that and the Oscars or anything. But they're fun if nothing else.
Richard, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think the Globes are. It's kind of like like the White House Correspondents' Dinner or something. It hit a peak where it was really fun, and then we expect it to be fun every year, but then you kind of realize halfway through that it's not so fun. The fun part is the TV and the movie people are together. That's always kind of interesting, and so it has a really wide swath as TV becomes more and more equal to film. It has a really wide swath of celebrity there, so it's kind of fun to watch people interact that maybe wouldn't at just the Emmys or just the Oscars. But it was a fun show. I thought Myers I'd give him a B+. Really solid job, tough job. He even made that great comment, he's the canary in the coal mine kind of thing, which I didn't know that expression. Did you guys know that? I'd never heard of that.
Never got an email about that.
Yeah.
I just got PTSD. Hold on. No.
But and the awards are always pretty weird. Sometimes they're in some ways they're representative of things to come, in other ways sometimes they're not. They have their biases, and for that voting body, which is fine. That's why they have their own award show. That's great. It makes it kind of fun. And plus the split up of comedy and drama throws a monkey wrench into things. And unfortunately, Monkey Bone won 5 Golden Globes.
Yeah, I did.
That was
picture.
weird. That was weird. Weird.
It's about time.
But yeah, I thought it was a fine show, and it always has its moments. And the Me Too movement, kind of a crescendo for it. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, but it was definitely a big moment for that movement, and that's great for all of those involved. And well, not all. Not all those involved, but all those involved on the pro end of the Me Too. It's great. The people that it should be great for, it's great. So that's so yeah. It was entertaining. I watched the whole thing. It was weird. I hadn't. It's just one of those weekend Sunday nights where I just kind of didn't have anything going on, so I actually watched the whole thing live, which was interesting. It kept my attention. A little boring here and there, but it was fun. I even watched like an hour and a half of Red Carpet, so I got my Seacrest on beforehand. I checked out all the black dresses and all that stuff. So it was good.
That's fun. So I don't have TV. I think we've talked about on the show before, so it makes live
not
event
cable,
viewing.
just a TV. You don't. I
don't have a TV. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I do have
aquarium.
a TV.
Big giant aquarium though. It's a large.
It is. It's expensive, but it's worth it. Yeah,
96 cents. No fish though. That's the weird part. Just the aquarium.
I just like the water. It's soothing. Very soothing. We
like the noise of the bubbles. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all. It is.
It's great. You should try it. So
some people like the beach. I like an empty
every year.
aquarium.
It makes it harder and harder for me to watch the Oscars and watch award shows and things like that, and of course the ESPYs, which is the only award show I take seriously.
Same,
and
absolutely.
And so a lot of
Peyton
the
Manning
times,
doesn't host
the
it,
networks, even on their on-demand apps and things like that, they'll block live award shows for some reason. I don't understand the fact that people don't want their stuff to be watched. I'll never understand why they're trying to limit the audience. I don't even when you've paid for the app or the access or whatever it is. So this year, as we talked about on our favorite things episode last week, Brian suggested PlayStation View, and so I signed up for my 5-day free trial. Perfect timing for the Golden Globes, and
awesome.
Extended my trial, watched it all weekend, kind of tried out PS View fully, watching some different NFL playoff games and some college games, and then tried it out for the Globes. Richard, actually, I tried to tune in to the E side, but E actually blocked their coverage on PS View. They blocked the red carpet coverage. And so I had to go on NBC. They allowed their whole show and pre-event to be streamed on PS View. And so I watched it live there and thought it was a great experience. So anyone who has cut the cord already and wants to watch the Oscars or something like that, I would suggest sign up for PS View, a free 5-day trial, I think it is, right before that, and you'll be able to do that. So that was my little life hack for that. And I enjoyed the experience, and totally worth the money if you can pony it up, or if you're replacing your cable with that. I think that's definitely a good idea. So I watched the whole thing as well. Definitely some surprises, I will say. But I think like Richard said, I don't think this is a year where you need to look at this as the kind of indicator for the Oscars. I think there was definitely some things that the Academy will do differently in terms of how they shape out the year and awards wise. But I thought it was an interesting night and a very versatile list of winners. I didn't think that they singled out one movie necessarily, unless it was Three Billboards, which won supporting actor, best actress, and best motion picture. It won a lot, but I feel like the other movies that we've talked about that are strong so far were well represented as well, and I think it leaves the conversation wide open as far as the best picture conversation, the best screenplay, the best director, best actor and actress, and all that is still wide open, and I'm excited to see where things go. But Brian, do you have the list of winners, or I don't want to spoil anything for you if you haven't watched the show?
Oh no, I'll pull those up here. I was looking earlier, so I've seen most of the big ones. We'll go quick because we don't want to spend an hour on this. But motion picture drama was a surprise.
Yeah, that's
winner.
probably the biggest surprise.
Yeah.
We haven't seen The Post, but that was the favorite going in for sure.
Yeah, I would have pegged
Moonlight, right?
Exactly. 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, not Ebbing, Montana, won over Call Me By Your Name, Dunkirk, The Post, and The Shape of Water. Best Picture, Musical or Comedy was an interesting category this year for sure. The nominees were I, Tonya, The Disaster Artist, Get Out as a comedy, which was an interesting choice by the studio there, and The Greatest Showman, which was $3 million well spent, I'm sure, maybe $10 million, and then the eventual winner, which was Lady Bird. So Lady Bird over Get Out, which is something.
Yeah,
that
definitely gives it legs in terms of the Oscars go. I saw this funny tweet yesterday that said, we should have had it in our episode last week, but it said, imagine telling Nancy Kerrigan, in 25 years, your story will be nominated for Best Comedy. That was hilarious. That was a good tweet. But yeah, that was a strong category. Best drama was. I think it's a pretty stacked category going into the final 8 or 10 or whatever they pick for the Academy. But it's going to be interesting to see whether they go the Get Out route, or if they go, we're going to do Florida Project, Call Me By Your Name movies instead, or if they even choose to acknowledge the bigger movies of the year, blockbuster-wise and culturally, or if they go more indie this year with how they rank things. But it always depends on the year and how they go. So let's hit the acting categories now. I mentioned Best Actress was Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards. And
she got that over Sally Hawkins, Meryl Streep, Michelle Williams for All the Money in the World, and Jessica Chastain. It's pretty strong.
We're talking about it tonight, but Sally Hawkins, for anyone to beat Sally Hawkins this year you got to really bring it. And American Treasure, Frances McDormand is one of the few people that could bring more than what Sally Hawkins brought to The Shape of Water. I thought Sally Hawkins was just enormously fantastic in what she brought, and the difference she made in terms of the casting and all that. That role was written for Sally Hawkins. Guillermo said it, like, it was so perfect for her that it's neck and neck in my opinion between her and Frances for Best Actress, but Saoirse's right behind him.
Yeah, this is Oscar nominations are going to be fun, and the eventual award is going to be great because this is an awesome year for female lead performances.
Yeah,
this category, without including the comedies, is Frances McDormand and Sally Hawkins and Meryl Streep and Michelle Williams and Jessica Chastain, and then you look at the comedy and it's Saoirse Ronan and Judi Dench and Helen Mirren and Margot Robbie and Emma Stone, and that's 10. Those are big names and big performances and all really deserving. I think there's a lot of years where, and maybe more importantly, of those 10 movies, 8 of them are movies that people really had an opportunity to see, even if they didn't see Battle of the Sexes. Like, it was in 2,000 theaters and it was available for people to go see. And a lot of times the Best Actress category will have 1 or 2 heavy hitters, and then like that movie, was it Still Alice, that literally, never got in, that Julianne Moore won for, and it never got any theatrical run. And there's always these, and not to in any way say that little movies or indie movies don't matter. We love indie movies here, but I always would like for the big Oscar nominated categories to be from movies that people have had a chance to see, because otherwise then they walk away saying, I don't even know what any of these movies are. And, awardsy movies stink. And I don't want to have that take place. So this is going to be a great year for that for the women. Saoirse Ronan won for comedy over the actresses I already mentioned. Best actor in a drama, Timothée Chalamet and Daniel Day-Lewis and Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington all came in second or third, fourth, fifth to Gary Oldman of The Darkest Hour. Very excited to see that this week.
He seems surprised, which why would, because I guess he's been nominated for everything and never wins.
Yeah.
But when you're nominated against Daniel Day-Lewis and Tom Hanks and Denzel, it's like, I won? Anybody would be surprised But yeah, that's amazing.
Strong.
That's
strong
really cool.
again. And for comedy, actor in a comedy was Daniel Kaluuya, and Steve Carell, Ansel Elgort, Hugh Jackman, somehow nominated for The Greatest Showman and not Logan, and the eventual winner was James Franco. So that category is going to be stacked as well once the Oscars come out. But I would say for maybe the first time I can remember in a while anyway, the actors category is going to be perhaps even stronger than the actor.
You think
awesome.
It's going to be? I think it's going to be exactly who they had as in drama. So I think it's going to be Daniel Day-Lewis, Tom Hanks, Gary Oldman, Timothy Chalamet, and I think it's that last spot that Denzel / James Franco / Daniel Kaluuya or whoever else they decide to put there. I think that's the other four are solid nominees, but I think that last one will be up in the air. I'd be surprised if the Academy recognizes Franco and puts him as a nominee.
Especially with these new allegations everywhere.
Yeah, I would have said yesterday he's a shoo-in for it, but after allegations today, who knows? So.
Right. So, I mean, I'm surprised that he won for this. I thought he was good, but I didn't think he was any better than any of the other performances in that category. And when he did win, the most Franco thing ever of Tommy Wiseau comes on stage with you and you take the entire time for yourself and don't let Tommy, you wouldn't have the movie not for him. And he, it would have been so awesome. Picture this. If Franco wins the award, goes up on stage with Tommy, gives Tommy the award and was like, you deserve this more than I do, kind of a thing. You've worked your whole life for this. You inspired this movie. You inspired everybody to chase their dreams. And he did I'm sharing this award with Tommy kind of a thing. I think that would have been way better than to block him from the mic and then not let him talk. And then it was just on Twitter after that, it was just like, how can you not let Tommy Wiseau speak at that? That would have been a great moment. Just to hear what he would have said would have been funny. But I thought it was very pretentious and very Franco of him to make it all about himself in that moment where he played the guy next to him the whole time.
Or just go up there and accept the award, because a lot of people don't invite the person whom they portrayed on stage, but he waved him on stage. So if you're going to wave him on
and then
stage,
to not let him talk. Yeah, it was very
Franco-y.
It should have been played different, but hopefully we're done with that. Hopefully that's all we see there. So we go to best supporting actress was let's go quickly.
Was Mary J. Blige, Hong Shao, Laurie Metcalf, Octavia Spencer, and they the winner of that category was American Treasure, Allison Janney. Well deserved, I think. I would definitely expect an Oscar for her this year. I think she's putting that solidifying that.
It's going to be her and Metcalf for sure, I think. But she's the heavy favorite.
Yeah, I think so too. Best supporting actor. Willem Dafoe, Armie Hammer, Richard Jenkins, North American Treasure, Christopher Plummer, and they all lost to American Treasure, Sam Rockwell. And that was cool. Not just because, he's great in everything that he does. That one felt like, and I didn't watch the whole show, so maybe there were other moments like this that I missed. That one felt like the whole room was super enthused for him. That was maybe... For an award that I saw, that was the loudest cheer of the night. I think people, I don't know, Sam Rockwell just has that kind of, he's an actor's actor, I think, and that was, it felt like people were super on his side for that, which was great.
Very cool. Yeah, it was a good moment.
He's fantastic.
Very good moment. We'll round it out. Best
director and screenplay. Director was Martin McDonagh for 3 Billboards, Christopher Nolan, Ridley Scott, American Treasure, Steven Spielberg, and they all lost to Guillermo del Toro, who we'll be talking about in just a few minutes here. So that was a surprise, I thought, to me, anyway. And then your best screenplay was for The Post, for Molly's Game, for The Shape of Water, for Lady Bird, and eventually Martin McDonagh won for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. So the big night. Yeah. For those folks, and
he seemed pretty surprised too to win that.
Yeah, I would have been too if I was him. The movie's very good. It got a lot of love that I didn't necessarily expect outside of Frances McDormand.
Yeah, maybe some surprises. The fact that Marvelous Mrs. Maisel won Best Comedy TV Series over Master of None and Blackish and Will and Grace and some other shows. I haven't seen Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, but I bet a lot of people are looking that up now that it won over some very popular shows.
My girlfriend and I are very excited for her win. Not my wife, my girlfriend. Where Rachel and I
might be in love with Rachel Brosnahan. The Globes love Amazon TV because like Mozart in the Jungle won a couple years ago, and literally no one had heard of Mozart in the Jungle, and so on and so forth.
So
they're big into that.
Oh, they are for sure. Well, Aziz did win for Master of None for Best Actor, so that was cool. Finally beat William H. Macy for that hilarious role in Shameless that he's just bringing the laughs every year. I mean, every year.
So many laughs.
It is kind of interesting, or not interesting, but maybe a little bit of a shocker. Not to a lot of people, but to the general public, it is. So for Best Show for Drama, the nominees were The Crown, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, This Is Us, and The Handmaid's Tale. And The Handmaid's Tale won. And of those 5, The Handmaid's Tale was by far the least talked about in terms of pop culture than Stranger Things and This Is Us and Game of Thrones and The Crown. I feel like those are all unavoidable this year. Handmaid's Tale was very good, but still flew under the radar. Elizabeth Moss won for Best Actress of the Globes, and it was well awarded too. So I think you're right. And the big 4 networks have got to be more and more nervous with every single award show, because not only are the on-demand shows winning, the streaming services, but HBO was a big player, and Fargo won for Ewan McGregor. Big Little Lies was big too. So I don't know. Actually, no. This Is Us. Sterling K. Brown won for This Is Us. That was the only 4 major networks thing that won an award at the Golden Globe. So it's not great for
Handmaid's Tale. It had some. I mean,
I think it's great. I think it is.
It's
good,
great,
but
and it had a lot of zeitgeist too. I mean, especially with it was pretty heavy in the culture, and it kicked at the Emmys too. It won a ton of stuff. Remember. And then it was, I mean, it's constantly still in my feed because, like the political allegory.
Oh, I understand.
Like
but I just
I see people talk about that more than The Crown, probably. Game of Thrones is its own thing, but and Stranger Things.
I cannot avoid The Crown. Maybe it's just my social group, but it's like every person I've ever met has watched and loves it and only wants to talk about The Crown. I don't it's fine. Okay. So that's the Golden Globes. We're moving into 2018 now, and some big movies coming out this year. Just in generally, looking at the list when we were coming up with our most anticipated or writing them down, not a huge year in terms of big giant blockbusters, unless it's Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, or that Avengers Infinity War. It's I would say a light year on the blockbuster side. Compared to 2017, which is an unusually heavy year in terms of tentpole blockbuster movies. So maybe we'll have a light year as far as that goes, but a bigger year in the Oscar side of things. And so that's exciting too. But just looking at the list, not an overly optimistic viewpoint, in my opinion, of this year. I think it's going to be a sort of median year in terms of our output. But I said that last year, and I thought at least the first half of the year was way better than I had anticipated it being in terms of the quality of the movies. There were very few F-, minuses awarded in the first half of the year. So hopefully that's the case this time. We've each ranked our top 3. I'm going to give my top 3 here, and I'll just kind of highlight them, and you guys can chime in with hilarious comments.
Sweet.
Or
that's what we're good at.
Yeah, that's what you do.
At least one of us.
That's what you do. So I'm going to say my third most anticipated movie, or no particular order, actually the number 1 is number 1, but the other 2 are interchangeable, is Deadpool 2. Really excited for Deadpool and where they go with that. I think the trailer with the Bob Ross stuff is hilarious. I think they perfectly know what Deadpool is, what fans like about Deadpool, and they're just going to exploit that to the max, hopefully, with the second one. As long as Ryan Reynolds is involved, I have confidence. I know there was a shakeup with directors and everything and where they should go with the story, but I think Ryan Reynolds is the voice literally of Deadpool and knows how to kind of steer the fan base and steer the franchise in the right direction. I'm excited for the possibility of it eventually crossing over with X-Men / Avengers. So excited, really excited for Deadpool 2, and it'll be probably one of my most anticipated of the year in terms of going into the theater, seeing it, and just being excited sitting in my seat for what I'm about to see. So that's one of mine.
Can't wait.
Another one that this is probably my most risky pick of the three is Shane Black's reboot of The Predator, and it's called The Predator. And I've always never really been a huge fan of the Predator movies because they haven't had any really great movies yet. I think it's a really cool property. I like the idea of the Predator and the powers of the Predator and the creature design and all of that. I think it's really cool, and I love certain elements of the first Predator, and I love certain elements of that one with Adrian Brody that they did a few years ago. I think there's always been maybe one or two scenes in each movie that are good, but nobody has yet to get it right. I'm willing to give Shane Black a chance to get it right, and I think he can bring a cool spin to that. And I just think that's a cool franchise that if you can give me a B+ or a B kind of movie, I'm all in for that, and I'll see those every summer. But so far, all we've gotten are C movies, and I'm just waiting for somebody to do Predator right. And so, big risk, but I think that could be a really cool payoff if it's even decent. I think it'd be really cool.
And it's definitely the best movie ever to feature two future governors. I think that's inarguable. So keep an eye out on this one. I don't.
Carl Weathers is running for governor of Delaware, I think. So you need to. No. Go ahead, Richard, with, I guess, save your number one, but give us your two most anticipated.
So we talked about these a little before, so we didn't cross over. So I just want to say both of yours are definitely high on my list as well. I love Shane Black, and Deadpool should be fun. So I totally second those. I'm going to go a little bit different. I didn't want to pick a few of these because I knew you guys would pick them. So try to pick things off the beaten path a little bit. My number three is, and I also was like, I'm going to pick original. I'm going to look up and pick original movies, new properties that are exciting me in 2018. And then I wrote down the three movies, and they're all either remakes or sequels. So, So three original remakes and sequels coming your way. My number three is Mission Impossible 6, because you guys know I ride for Cruise, and I like the series, even though they are kind of on autopilot at this point. I enjoy them, and I think it's one of the best series going outside of like the MCU or Star Wars. And my number three is MI6. My number two is there's a lot of history here. It's a character I've known literally my whole life. I can't remember a time I didn't know. And so I'm just kind of interested production wise on how they're going to pull this off and how it's going to work and the scale of it and the scope of it and the whatever. My number two is Mary Poppins Returns.
Yeah.
Good day, mate.
In terms of what you said about Mission Impossible, still untitled. It's just MI6 at this point, so we don't.
Which is the British, CIA basically.
Yeah, so that's true. That could be a cool title.
So they could just
MI6,
do that.
Yeah.
MI6 or something.
Yeah. Mary Poppins Returns. I am very nervous about this one.
Oh, me too.
Very.
It's
nervous.
just anticipated.
Yeah.
I'm not like
just curiosity.
Yeah. It's not like this isn't the most excited list. I'm curious how they're going to pull this off more.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I am too. I really am, and a lot of good people involved, and definitely a property that you wouldn't think people would want to revisit. It's hard. It's a hard sell for today's youth to be like, let's sit down and watch Mary Poppins, kids. But it's not animated. It's just a very times have changed in terms of kids' entertainment. So
it's animated with sidewalk chalk. So get over it. Sit down, eat your vegetables,
right,
kid. That's what I would say.
I think it's going to be a cool reimagining. Or
definitely
the
cast is cool.
It could be Oz Great and Powerful. It could just be a reason for them to bring back something just because it has familiarity, and I don't know.
The cast makes me excited. The director makes me very nervous because it's Rob Marshall, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
He of Chicago fame, but it's also Emily Blunt and Lin-Manuel Miranda and some cool people. So it's like I'm 50-50 on it. Nothing would surprise me, but I'm excited to find out. It's Mary Poppins, man.
There's a weird twist, and like Mary Poppins is like a ninja or something.
Now we're talking. Okay. Not seeing a downside. Okay.
I hope Lin-Manuel Miranda has a terrible fake Cockney accent like Dick Van Dyke did.
I hope he doesn't. But Dick Van Dyke's supposed to be in the movie, so we'll see a cameo, maybe a chimney dance or something from him. All right, that's a good one. Good list, Richard. Give us your 2, Brian. Save your number 1.
Okay, I want to preface this by saying definitely on this list would probably be Creed 2, but I'm not totally convinced that it's going to come out this year since I don't think literally anything has happened yet, and so I'm pushing it. I think that's going to get. I would guess that it gets pushed to 2019. So
also,
if it comes out instantly,
no Coogler in that one too.
No Coogler. I know
that one. I almost had that one too, but I was like, it's got Stallone's script, which will be solid, but man, he added so much flair to Creed. This is directing.
Yeah, I agree. So my 2 that I'm going to mention here are the Han Solo movie, origin story, whatever it may be. At this point, I'm almost as interested from is this going to be a train wreck standpoint as anything else. But it's new Star Wars. I'm always excited for new Star Wars. I still really, really like the cast and the current director and the ways in which I think this movie could go. And but again, there's a certain train wreck element to it of just like what happens if this is terrible, which would be interesting. And you mentioned Ryan Coogler. Black Panther looks so freaking good.
Yeah.
And every time I see that trailer, I just walk away just totally pumped up. I don't know why it's coming out in February, but I'm super excited that we only have to wait like 5 more weeks for it instead of 3 or 4 months or something.
Kellen Lutz must be in it because he's the king of February action cinema.
Yeah, it's actually Chadwick Boseman as Kellen Lutz as Black Panther.
Marshmallows.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty great. Yes, that trailer that's one of the best like superhero trailers I've ever seen. It looks incredible. I'm so pumped to see my boy Michael B. Jordan in a villainous role. I cannot wait for that movie. So those are my 2.
That is it might be more anticipated for me than Infinity War. I just think Infinity War
certainly is for me.
There's no way.
Infinity War looks great too. I'll be honest. I dig Infinity War. I dig the Infinity War trailer quite a bit, especially with Cap coming back and the way that they're playing that. I think that's going to be really cool. But Black Panther looks like on another level to me.
Yeah. To me, Infinity War, it's 10 years in the making. So for me, that's just almost impossible for it to be what you picture it in your mind to be. It's just good. The expectation is going to be so huge for that movie. For me, Black Panther is more anticipated than that this year in terms of Marvel. I'm just excited for where the direction they can go post Avengers Infinity War. And that's the first look at it, and I'm excited. So, number 1s, most anticipated for us this year. We'll give Richard Barden the honors. Number 1.
Yeah, mine's a little out there, but I'm so curious about this, and I love the original. Well, not the original. I love the 70s version of it, and I'm super interested in A Star Is Born. Bradley Cooper. Nice. Bradley Cooper directing, Lady Gaga, Dave Chappelle. I don't know, just a really interesting cast. Andrew Dice Clay, I think, is randomly in it too. It just seems, I don't know. It's one of those things that's either going to like come out to 3 theaters and be awful, or will like sweep awards season with, I think, little in between. So right. I'm really interested in it.
People will be like, "Wow, this Lady Gaga is for real. She's not messing around with this talent. Like she's got it all." I think she is enormously talented, and this is hopefully an indication. Only question mark I have, Richard, is Bradley Cooper in the director's chair for this. So I don't know what to expect there, but I have high expectations in terms of the storytelling and the music aspect and all that. I think it'll be spot on for that. So that's what I'm anticipating for it. But yeah, you're right. It could be a small thing or it could be a huge hit. Who knows?
And he has some. There's all the producers are directors, so I don't know what that means. I think Todd Phillips randomly produced it, as did Clint Eastwood. So
wasn't it supposed to be Beyonce and Clint Eastwood were supposed to do this at some point or something? I'm
sure that's why Eastwood's name's on it. It's probably just attached to it somehow. But I know Bradley Cooper like redid the script a bunch too. I don't know. I have no. Again, I'm trying to just think. What am I most interested in narratively of the year?
I feel like they've been talking about that feel like I've been hearing about that for 3 years, for The Star is Born with Lady Gaga. I don't know if they've been talking about it or if they've actually been trying to make it for that long, but I feel like we've been talking about that forever. Just the fact that that's coming. And it's finally, coming late this year? Fall? So, yeah.
I think it's May.
It is?
It's October.
It's October?
October?
Okay.
So, yeah. Wow. That's a long wait. That's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely am interested to see what they do there. I will go now. My most anticipated comes from my favorite director right now, Damien Chazelle of Whiplash / La La Land fame. And he is teaming up again with Gosling and telling his interpretation of Neil Armstrong, or a part of Neil Armstrong's life. And the movie is called First Man. And always excited to see the Goz. And like I said, I think Chazelle is the most interesting young director going right now. And how is he going to follow up La La Land? Who knows? This is very anticipated for me for a lot of reasons, and my number one of the year. You guys excited about it?
Can't wait. You could have told me, like, if you were like Damien, I didn't know the movie was coming out. I'd be like, Damien Chazelle, yes, is teaming up with Ryan Gosling. I'd just be like, tell me more. I can't wait.
It's like,
and then
what if I told you that he's doing
awesome.
He's doing a story set in, early days of NASA? You're like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Well, just imagining the sets and the whole period piece aspect of it is going to be really cool. I'm really excited to see Chazelle's next piece of work. He has not let us down yet. And
to be fair, I think he could be like, my next 8 projects are going to be with Ryan Gosling, and all I'm going to do is remake the movies of Uwe Boll. And I'd be like, okay, let's do it. That sounds awesome. So.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to hear what your number one is, though, Brian. Can I guess it?
So go for it. For it.
Okay. Is it? Let's play. Is it a blockbuster?
It is. I'm representing blockbusters tonight. That's the card I drew.
Is it a Disney property?
I don't. Is it? Maybe.
Okay,
sure.
That's a good indicator.
Possibly.
Possibly. Oh. I'm going to give up. I'm going to waste too much time. I was trying to think of an X-Men property this year, but is it the Dark Phoenix?
No, but that's exciting to me, but X-Men movies are so hit or miss. You never know.
Okay, what you got?
No, number one for me is the adaptation of my favorite book of all time, which is an unpopular thing to say anymore. Apparently, I don't care. I love Ready Player One. I'm so stoked to have Spielberg do that and bring it to the screen. It's the second trailer that we saw before Star Wars, or at least I did the second time I saw it, is so good, and to me really fits the spirit of the book and what it's going for. I can't wait. I'm at the point where I feel like that book may be very difficult to bring to screen, and I'm not expecting like the greatest work of Steven Spielberg's career, which would be very stupid to expect. But I'm just excited to see it put to screen and what Spielberg can do with it, and I'm very excited for this for sure.
I was gonna say I didn't think you were that big of a fan of Fantastic Beasts 2, which is
no, not looking forward to
this
that
year
one so much.
Good grief! All right, we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna talk The Shape of Water. A fresh new year has begun, and if you're setting new goals for your business this year, it's extremely difficult to reach them without the right people on your team. Hi guys, Kent Garrison here on behalf of ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter has transformed how you go about finding qualified candidates. How it works is ZipRecruiter posts your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click. And then, ZipRecruiter actively looks for the most qualified candidates and invites them to apply. In fact, it's no wonder that 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate in just one day. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidate finding you, it finds them. It couldn't be easier with ZipRecruiter. They've been great supporters of the Mad About Movies podcast for years. That's why they are offering MAM listeners the ability to post their jobs for free. That's right, for free at ZipRecruiter.com. So head on over to ZipRecruiter.com/mad. ZipRecruiter.com/mad. You're looking for a job, you're looking for qualified candidates, head on over there, ZipRecruiter.com/mad. ZipRecruiter.com, the smartest way to hire. All right, so we are here to talk Shape of Water with our friend Alex. We're welcoming Alex to the show for the first time. Long-time listener, first-time caller, And he is somebody who has a lot of thoughts on movies because he writes movie reviews of his own. And so we're welcoming Alex to the show. Hey, Alex, what's up?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We're excited to have you. First question right off the bat. Have to get it out of the way. Now You See Me. Have you seen it?
I have. I can't say my life is better for it.
Okay, good answer.
It's actually here's the thing with Now You See Me. The thing that's horrible with it is that compared to some other,
it exists exactly. Okay,
of course. But number two, real quick, for me personally, with Now You See Me, it's horrible because it's one of those theater going experiences for me from this decade where it's. First, the memory is always going to be there because of the context. Like it was one of those things where I was out of town on a trip, and we had kind of watched it on a whim. It was like I think I was in Phoenix at the time, actually, for like a Fleetwood Mac concert. So we were there like the day before. Me and my friend were just walking around town, just finding stuff to do, and we go watch this movie. And I had this movie Sixth Sense that I was like, okay, I don't think this is gonna be super good, but we checked it out anyway. And so just because of the context and like where I was, like who I was with, that memory will always be there, which is just horrible. But
the thing I hate about Now You See Me is like let's take I here we go, perfect comp. This will enrage Kent. Which is what
we're always going for.
And first off, don't think you buried that lead on me that you were in Phoenix for a Fleetwood Mac concert. We're gonna circle back to that.
Okay.
Because Adrian might have some competition for most interesting man in the world, but but I've seen Now You See Me. I hate it. Mm-hmm. I've seen it 14 times probably. I've seen La La Land twice. Like that's the thing I hate about Now You See Me. It's always on, and I always find myself watching it like begrudgingly.
Yeah,
I still need to get around and watch the second one because, of course, dual Woody Harrelson.
Have so much, man, and Daniel Radcliffe.
And of course.
Well, luckily, it just hit Netflix, and we definitely know that thanks to our Twitter. Twitter feed blew up whenever Now You See Me 2 hit Netflix, but that's always what we want to live for is just endless Now You See Me references. That is funny. But Richard, you nailed it when you said, right when we walked out of that movie, you said, at least that one's going to be fun to do on the podcast. And I said, I never want to see that movie again. And you go, no, that one's going to be really fun to watch 15 times on TNT. Fast forward 2 years, it's the only thing TNT ever plays is those two movies on a rotating.
Back to back. It's a good double feature. Right?
Yeah. What a dichotomy.
They know drama. Nothing says drama like Jaden.
Alex, where are you based out of?
I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay, Albuquerque. So you went from Albuquerque to Phoenix. You big Fleetwood Mac fan?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I am. I grew up listening to them thanks to my dad, and he was taking me and my friend there. That was kind of my high school graduation present. Right about that time, it was May 2013. Yeah. So cool. It took me to Bud there to Phoenix, and then so I had 2 consecutive days, the worst theater going experience and one of the best concerts of my life.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Phoenix, a lot of people may not know, birthplace of Mad About Movies' own Richard Barton. There's a little trivia for you guys.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. And when you drive through, you can see the sign on the outskirts of town. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We put it there, but it'll be official.
I have Fleetwood Mac right up here on my wall next to my 86 Bears poster and my Larry Bird poster. That's a little inside joke for Kent.
Yeah.
He didn't even catch it, man.
That's a Bill Simmons joke.
Nothing says sports like Fleetwood Mac, but no, that's cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on, man, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts on The Shape of Water because it's always an interesting conversation when Guillermo del Toro is involved, whether it's for the good reasons or the bad reasons. I feel like everybody has a strong opinion on him. He's a love it or hate it kind of a director, I feel like. He certainly has his own aesthetic. He's an auteur guy. He writes and conceives of his own stories and characters, and I'm a huge fan of that. I think that everything he's done, I've liked to varying degrees of success. I don't think he's put out necessarily a quote-unquote bad movie. In terms of, I certainly liked some more than others. Crimson Peak is not what this is, and Pacific Rim is not what Hellboy is, and Pan's Labyrinth is a whole nother thing. So, I mean, he's done a lot of different things, in my opinion, in terms of what he's bringing us, whether it's blockbusters or intellectual type movies. He kind of crosses that line perfectly. So I love talking about him. But this movie, I mean, the conversation has been huge for this movie, and I just recently saw this within the past few days. It's been out for a while, and I'm just shocked at how much people are enjoying talking about this movie, and it seems like the conversation has never been so big for a Del Toro movie, and this is a guy that is a comic book movie maker, so that's really cool to see that his most kind of intellectual movie is the one people are talking about the most, and it'll get the most acclaim and probably the most recognition for, rather than the ones that make probably more money. So at the end of the day, I'm really excited that Guillermo del Toro is doing what he's doing, and I was a huge fan of this, and I was probably most thoroughly entertained from beginning to end with this movie this year. This had so much to offer, whether it was the production design or the score or the script is great, and the effects are great, and the performances are great, and the direction is great, and I have the least probably to complain about with this movie than most. I still have some issues with it, of course, and some things I would change, but I think for the most part, this was top notch, and there's just so much to talk about here with so much going on with the satire and things that they're trying to say with this movie. He has so much to say, and I'm excited to talk about that with you guys. A lot more in spoilers, of course, but wow. This was a artistic experience for me to see this, and I'm really excited about it. So what did you think, Alex, about this?
So yeah, just for first impressions. So real quick, so Del Toro for me definitely has a bit of a special place in my heart. When I watch movies, two of the things I can acknowledge that I kind of value the most are originality and the writing. And I think, with Del Toro, aside from Peter Jackson, I'd say he's probably done more than anyone else in like contemporary fantasy cinema. And his movies are absolutely nothing if not original. Like you said, Ken, he definitely has an aesthetic and a vibe where you're watching a Del Toro movie. And so going into this, Pan's Labyrinth was my favorite one, and that kind of encompasses all that I love about it. So going into this one, I remember watching the first trailer and obviously knowing that this movie was coming up, and I was like, all right, I'm in, I'm hooked, I'm sold. I don't need to watch anything else. I'm ready for this. And then I was kind of avoiding everything else, but eventually I got a second trailer in the theater, so I can escape that. Thought it gave a little bit away, but certainly didn't diminish my excitement. So just overall thoughts on it. It definitely met my expectations. I was super satisfied by it, kind of hitting on everything you said. The acting, I think for sure, is absolute highlight of the movie, just across the board. I think we'll definitely go into in depth later with Hawkins's performance, I'm sure. But I think for sure this is kind of just my bare bones thoughts on it. This movie is kind of a showcase of Del Toro, I think, at his technical powers. I think when you look at his early stuff, maybe right up to Hellboy, and for sure right up to Pacific Rim, I think his movies have that kind of, they're definitely from Del Toro's mind. They're original, they're fantastical. They have these eccentric premises, but they still have this kind of a vibe cinematically that's a little bit rustic. And I don't even mean that in the bad way, but just kind of showing that auteur sense for sure. But this is like it's kind of like you took this straight out of Del Toro's mind. Like, it's still unquestionably his story and his premise, and you kind of just like clean it up a little. And I think the cinematography is incredible, and it's just definitely his most cinematic movie for me. I think this shows that he can still create incredible movies without like putting us directly into like a fantasy world, like something outlandish like Hellboy or Pacific Rim. I think there's certain like just a couple elements you can take out of this, and you could almost say this is like something that actually happened aside from the obvious part of the premise. So overall, I was just to wrap this up, the initial thoughts, super satisfied. Acting across the board, I think Sally Hawkins' performance is finally going to get her the recognition that somehow she seems like she hasn't gotten yet up to this point, and I loved it.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I have a weird... Guillermo del Toro is one that I love. Pan's Labyrinth. I think it's a masterpiece and one of the few foreign language films that, because I'm, a stupid swine, I don't watch very many foreign language films. I don't have the attention span to read myself through a movie, and so I very rarely will do it. Pan's Labyrinth is fantastic, and I know that wasn't my introduction to Del Toro. I'd seen Hellboy, and I'm sure and Blade 2 and probably Mimic and such. But that was the first time that I really knew I was watching a Del Toro movie, and was, anticipating that. And it's fantastic. All of his other films have missed the mark for me somewhere. And I don't want every time I go in there are some, like, I don't know, Zack Snyder movies. I'm at the point where I'm just like, I'm never going to get this. This is never going to be something that I like or want to like. Not to say that he couldn't make a movie that I'd be like, oh yeah, that was pretty solid. I'm just never going to be the audience for his movies. And I'm okay with that. I really want to love Del Toro and his work because I find him fascinating. I think he's a great, you mentioned, Alex, just some of like his process and whatnot. Like, I think he's a great voice within the directing, the filmmaking world. And I have a great respect for the passion that he puts into every movie. That's undoubtedly, I mean, you can see that in every frame of this movie and pretty much any movie that he's ever made. It's a labor of love, and he's very creative. I want to love his movies, and I just, every single time I come out feeling a little bit colder than it seems like everybody else. And it frustrates me. It's disappointing to me. Pac Rim, I know you love it, Kent. Our friend Ariel, that's like his favorite movie.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it's so weird because I felt like I was on such an island with loving Pac Rim. Like, because it came and went and no one ever really talked about it again. I was like, that was awesome, guys. What are y'all talking about? But I've met more people maybe in the last year, like, the last 1 year, that have said Pac Rim's my favorite movie of all time. I'm just like, what? Everyone's just got a weird cult following. Yeah.
And it's great. And I saw that and I was like, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was fun. And then Godzilla came out and I was like, I like Godzilla way, way more than that. And I don't have room for both of them. And that's just kind of how it went.
Until they cross over.
I super want to like the Hellboy movies. But I don't. I just don't. I don't really. They're fine, but they don't really do it for me. Blade 2 sucks. Crimson Peak didn't work. All of these movies, they never quite hit the mark for me. And I really, really thought going in, this was going to be the one. It looks better than anything else he's ever filmed. I don't think, to me, it's not even close. I loved the score. I thought Sally Hawkins was fantastic. I love all the support. Michael Stuhlbarg is one of my favorite supporting actors, and Richard Jenkins is as well. Octavia Spencer was great. I always love Michael Shannon. I really thought this was it, and then it kind of got down to the crux of the movie, and I just was like, something's off for me. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me the way that I want it to work, and it doesn't work for me the way that it seems like it's working for everybody else. And I don't know. That's a rare experience. It's for me, at least, it's rare to get to the final to the third act, and for me to be surprised that I'm not into it, or surprised that I am into it. It's usually like, I'm here, I'm loving this, or there's bumps and bumps along the way, but I'm here for the ride. This one, I really thought I'm here. I like this. This is good. And then it got to that third act, and I just was like, there's something wrong here for me. It's just not hitting, and I'm bummed about that, and it frustrates me. But I don't know. It may just be at the point where I just have to say, Del Toro movies, while beautiful and while I appreciate him, they're just not right for me. They just don't fit what I'm going for. But that's me. Richard, what are your initial thoughts and feelings and all that good stuff?
We have two camps here. I saw this a while back. It got to me. I saw this probably about a month ago. I don't know, 3 weeks ago. Wow. I saw it. Yeah, so I've had some time to noodle on this. Is the only reason I bring that up. It was in my kind of local theater early, and Sarah is a huge Pan's Labyrinth fan, and so we went and knocked this out. And I have to say, we've got two camps here, and I'm really interested in both these. I have to side I have to side with Brian a bit. I think this is technically. I really enjoyed the aesthetic of it, and I love Pan's Labyrinth, and I liked Pacific Rim, and I liked Del Toro. One of my favorite books ever is Slaughterhouse-Five, and Del Toro has the rights to it, and has for 7 or 8 years, and I'm dying for him to actually make it. I think he's actually the right person to make Slaughterhouse-Five into a movie, and I think totally, and so I love the performances here. Like Brian, the only thing I differ with you, I'm not a big Michael Shannon fan. I mean, I love him in Man of Steel, but other than that, no. No, I'm kidding. But he kind of, I don't know. He's fine to me. I think obviously very talented. Just, these things are subjective, and he just doesn't really do it for me. But I love the rest of the cast, and in Jenkins and Hawkins and Stugart and I got it in a way. It was beautiful, and I obviously, and I was moved by it at certain times. And as you guys know, I don't like to be moved, so that was part of it. But I just kind of found a lot of the kind of allegorical stuff and some of the writing to be a little bit obvious and a little bit heavy-handed and a little bit, and part of that's on purpose. But to me, I just thought it was a little bit almost slapped on too thick, like sure. Peanut butter is good on a sandwich, but if the whole thing is 2 inches deep of peanut butter, it's kind of gross to eat. And to me, I had a little bit of that going for it. Love the flavor of it. It was just kind of too much. And so the world's grossest analogy. So it was that's kind of that's how I felt about it. I am kind of baffled at the awards praise for it, aside from some performance things. If this is the best picture of the year, that's really surprising to me. I don't have anything that doesn't anger me or anything. I can be wrong. I might be wrong. But I'm just kind of like, I'm like, really? Wow, it's affecting people that much, and that's cool. But just not me so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this movie might have more to say than any movie this year. Like this is more of social commentary than I've seen in a movie this year so far, aside from ones we haven't talked about.
Get Out.
Get Out is a big one too. This I think is a more approachable Get Out. This movie is about acceptance. This movie is about love. It's about communication between people of different backgrounds, ethnicities. It's about the power struggle of men of authority and people, service workers and things like that. I mean, there's definitely a lot that they're trying to say with this. So for me, this movie wins me over on that stuff more than it does for the aesthetic and for how it was shot. That's all great. That's all A+ in my opinion. But for me, where I think this movie wins is the message, is the plot, is the performances and the genuine, like you said, the movement you feel in the theater watching this. There are several moments that are very heartwarming. There are several moments that are sad. It's poetic at times. There's a lot of feeling in the theater, and some people just like Get Out. They don't like to feel things. A lot of people went and saw Get Out, like, yeah, that movie may creep me out, and like that means I didn't like it. Well, it creeped me out because it made you feel something in your gut. Like that. To me, that means that you should look at it in that way. That if it affected you, then maybe you liked it. You just don't know it. So. For me, it hit on the mark of the emotion, and I can see why the opinion would be of that it's heavy-handed, it is in your face, but for me, that stuff worked, and it worked really well. I think there's several strokes of genius that, there are reveals about the characters later on in the movie and in the third act that really bring the story together in a great way. I think this is a really well-structured movie in terms of people finding out things when they need to and to help move the plot along. And it's sometimes convenient when we get into spoilers, and we'll talk about that. Some of my complaints are in regards to the convenience of the plot and the logistics and all that. But I think it's Guillermo del Toro's, I don't want to say passion project, because certainly Pacific Rim, I feel like, is his passion project with the robots fighting giant monsters. I think that'll always be what he always wanted to do. But this, he's talked about it as his love of monster movies. This is his most. It's a kind of an ode to old, Universal monster movies. He was inspired by The Creature from the Black Lagoon. There are certainly, not references, but it's definitely an homage to that when it comes to the creature design and the relationship between the creature and the woman and all of that. But the real key to this is, does it work? The relationship between Sally Hawkins and the actual creature has to be believable. It has to be something that you actually think could happen. And like you said, Alex, maybe you can elaborate on that. This movie kind of feels like something that could actually have happened in some way, in some kind of secret government lab. That's the premise of the movie, but maybe that kind of is why people are talking about it so much, because it does have that realistic quality to it.
For sure, yeah. And just to piggyback a little bit on a couple of points you made there, I think Del Toro has, unless this was just some portion of film Twitter just paraphrasing it or something, I think he has explicitly come out and said this is like his favorite movie that he's done. And I'm sure he can maybe say that for his most recent thing. It might be a recency bias thing, but
I know he said it's his best movie. I think he said he thinks it's his best.
For sure.
But sorry not to contradict you, but yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. That's important to make note of that. I definitely think you do have a great point in that this movie definitely is arriving at like the perfect time. Not to get too political or anything, but I think it's easy to see, and I definitely do not disagree with Richard at all that this movie is for sure, like, if anything, it's not shy about its messages and its allegory and its symbolism. You can kind of see it everywhere, like from the color grading to the relationship itself between the merman and Eliza, Sally Hawkins' character. And I think some of that for sure plays into all this awards discussion that's garnered, because I definitely agree that I've been a little surprised by how much acclaim it's getting by notoriety. I almost feel like all that awards buzz surrounding this movie now that we're in award season has almost made some people who's maybe just a casual moviegoer go, "Oh, Del Toro? Like, who's this guy?" Maybe never heard of him, even if maybe they've seen something like Hellboy or something more mainstream in the past. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Brian, anything to chime in there?
Yeah, no, I mean, I get why it's, I don't know, I get why it's awardsy, and I get why it's doing pretty well. I like I said, there's a lot that I really liked about the movie. This is weird to me, and I don't know. I think the creature doesn't look so awesome, and that's like Guillermo del Toro's like bread and butter is creature design, and I think this plays into why I feel like I'm strangely in the opposition party on him for some reason. Is like I always feel like his creature design is like 80% awesome, and the other 20% like that looks kind of dumb. I don't know. It was not great for me, and I thought the pacing to get to the third act was a little bit rushed to me, and I think you're right, Ken. I think you have to be able to really appreciate the movie as a whole for what it is. I think you have to buy into the relationship between the creature and Sally Hawkins, and I wasn't there. I didn't necessarily think I wasn't there up until it got to that point, and I was like, no, this is weird. I'm not here for it. This is just it's like just a little bit beyond what I can get to, and I don't mean like the I don't know, the sexual stuff so much as just like I expected, and I think I was right to expect personally that we were going to get some real build up to the breakout and and what was to come after that, and instead we really get maybe 2.5 scenes of Sally Hawkins' character in the lab with the monster, the creature, and that developed quite poorly
in
to
terms
me. Honestly, it just was very rushed and quick, very very forced to like get to a much longer third act than I expected, and that personally that I feel like was appropriate for the movie itself. I enjoyed the movie much more in the first two acts than I did in the third, and I didn't. The third act, once it got to that point, it felt like we were spending a really long time in this section, and it would have been better served with more time in the second part. The whole, can we just say we're at spoilers at this point?
Sure. Spoilers.
The whole Michael Stuhlbarg with the Russian agent B story. I love him. I like the character. I thought that was an unnecessary distraction from what else was taking place on the whole through the movie, and that I would have preferred, let's take that time instead and actually develop this sort of relationship between creature and woman, to where it doesn't feel like we're very quickly moving from they meet each other to she is having sex with the weird creature from Brazil. You know what I mean? It's just it's a big jump.
I agree. I wish there would have been more time between when she breaks the thing out and when she brings it home, because there feels like it's that her breaking it out should have been more climactic than her housing it in her house for however long she has to house it in her house, right? And to me, I think the Russian plotline is kind of one of the things I was talking about earlier that really comes together in the end, because while the thing's at her house and she has to wait for the tide to come up or whatever it is, there has to be something to distract the actual government from finding her. For them not to say, let's just go to that mute's house and see if it's there, where she is, and for them not to have a suspect. So all the while, they're distracted by that whole Russian and Michael Stuhlbarg situation, and that buys her the time needed to do that whole thing. So I thought that was a really clever way for it to come together. And another plot line was the Richard Jenkins's art career thing. I was like, what does this have to do with anything? Like, that was the one that wasn't working for me for a while. Until,
and I love him. Yeah. But I agree with
that
you.
wasn't working for me until they have him like painting the logo on the truck. So it was like, okay, that's why he was an artist, to set that up. So I kind of understood why what they were planting the seeds for. Like, at least it has a little bit of payoff. Like, they needed his skill in order to get this thing done, right? So I kind of understood that. So to me, that's kind of clever the way it all came out. It's for me, the beginning of the movie, the middle of the movie is more romance, an old school romance. The second act and the end is there's more caper elements to it. I enjoyed the scenes where they're trying to break out and they're moving the security cameras and doing that whole thing. I really liked that aspect of it. I thought that was a really well done sequence. And for me, what didn't work was the sexual stuff. Like, I think you could have accomplished everything in this movie that you need to in terms of her loving this creature and them having this special bond without like them literally doing it. I don't know what that accomplishes. Sure. Like, well, they got it on, and then they have that scene with her and Octavia Spencer laughing about how did it happen and all that. I mean, it was a funny moment, I guess, but I think if you don't have that at all in this movie, and it's just they have this actual genuine, they're in love, I think that you accomplish everything you need to with a reason for her to be attached to this thing and risk it all for the love of this creature. And it has this whole animal rights thing too, and in terms of, imprisoned people being treated the way they shouldn't be treated, or not getting a chance, or being stereotyped. And that's kind of Michael Shannon just beating the ever-living tar out of it, and not even, like, the thing will be nice if you're just nice to it, right? That's the whole thing. And I bought the relationship between the two, and I thought there were some clever narrative pieces, like with the eggs and with the record player and things like that bonded the two together in a very natural way. And so that gets a pass for me in terms of
that stuff was good. I'm with you there. And even the first like sequence, it sort of works, and then you get the jokes about it and stuff like that. To me, the whole I'm gonna flood this bathroom scene that's like kind of, to me, that was the definition of like art over substance. Like, that doesn't that has
no
zero
practicality.
It's a very stupid plot point done because because it looks beautiful, and because we can shoot this whole thing underwater and it'll look great. And I get that. I don't know that I need that, I guess. And to be frank. By that point, I was at the point where I was like, I kind of just want to get this over with, and then we got a very elongated scene on that front.
Yeah. I definitely do feel. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. I was just going to say, like, from obviously a narrative standpoint, and I'd be lying if I said I was, anything in this movie particularly shocked me or went a different way than I thought it would. When the elevator pitch for your movie is Beauty and the Beast meets Creature from the Black Lagoon or the Cold War. I feel like you can almost hear that and say, okay, that's got to be Del Toro, or no one else can do it.
Sure, totally. Yeah.
So, from that standpoint, you kind of know what you're going to get. And so I definitely think this is a movie that's kind of made, and you guys have kind of touched on this, it is a little bit more, the sum of its parts are a little bit greater than the whole. And I think with some of that stuff, like you were saying, like the physical, the very mature physical stuff with Eliza and the sexual attraction that she has with the creature. I'd be lying if I said I didn't find that a little bit jarring when that happened. Like Ken said, I think I definitely bought into that early on. I think that might be just Del Toro buying into his tendencies, where his movies, and all of them do have a really adult vibe, whether it's through like the gore, the premise itself. So I think that's him indulging that, if that makes sense. And which is fine. It's fine. It was a little bit jarring. I definitely think it could have been, didn't need that stuff, and it would have been totally fine. Didn't really add anything, but it was fine. But the narrative, as far as the narrative itself, you guys have mentioned with the Russian spy B plots and things like that. You could say that the biggest impact those had was we introduced this guy and he plays a semi-pivotal part in the escape sequence. When he stabs the security guard in the back, you got to get someone to take care of that. You could say the same thing for Richard Jenkins' character being the painter, and then having him help out with the painting the laundry or whatever logo was on the truck. I do want to point out something that I really liked with the Russian B plot sequence, which obviously when you introduce this Russian spy in a top secret American lab sequence, like you know how that's going to turn out for that guy, and he bites it at the hands of a very revengeful minded Michael Shannon near the end. But the thing that I really liked about that, where it introduced where Del Toro introduced a little bit of gray, where the story could have just been really black and white, is just this guy's bosses, the other Russian guys kind of keeping it low in that town wherever they are. They're like, okay, kill this creature. Like, it's better to just kill it than let the Americans have it. But this guy, in his mind, he's like really scientifically driven. He's driven by curiosity more than anything else. And that I did appreciate that, because it did introduce a little bit of moral gray and a plot line that could have certainly been really black and white.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it was worthless by any means. I totally understand why it's there. And as much as anything, it to your point, Ken, like you have to have some of these things going on if you're going to kind of elongate that third act. I don't know. Some more of it could have been, for me, if we spend a little bit more time developing why we're doing this entire thing, I feel like that would have served the movie better. But that's it. I totally get where you're coming from, Alex. It worked on that front. I would have preferred, I guess, using my time somewhere else, I guess.
For sure.
But certainly more so, Kent, than like the Richard Jenkins plot of going into the office and showing it. All that sort of stuff
it felt superfluous at the time.
Yeah, it did. It was superfluous. And even you could show that he's a struggling artist, and that still would pay off whether or not he goes into the office multiple times and all the sort of stuff that he goes through. It's fine. None of it was bad. It just, again, to me, that's not it's not an economical use of the time we have with all these characters.
Eliza, everything between Eliza and the creature for me is still for sure like the highlight of the movie. Like everything with them is still, for me, the best part.
Yeah, I found myself during the movie wanting them to cut back to the creature and her. I just felt myself the most curious about of the plot lines that we have working. That was the one I was most interested in. Maybe it was just the design that I just wanted to see inside that room. I thought that room was really well designed with the actual tank and everything in there in the government lab. But that was all genius. That stuff was iconic sets, that stuff was great. And I love the use of teal throughout the movie and green. There's a lot of allegory there with the terms of, like you said, kind of the color timing and the thematic things they do with color and green and yellow in the movie, and him getting a green car with the key lime pie. They say that green is the color of the future. When the Jell-O ad, they want him to change it to color green. What did you think about the fact that Octavia? I'm getting kind of Easter eggy here, but I want to talk some more stuff that worked for me. But Easter egg time. What did you think about Octavia Spencer's character being named Zelda, and the fact that they're kind of a mute character, like the Link character in the green and all that? I've heard some theories about some references to Zelda, the Legend of Zelda, in kind of the plotting of the movie too. But I think that's kind of a funny way to go about it. I noticed this reminded me a lot of E.T., especially with the creature having healing powers. When that reveal came, I was like, okay, this is E.T. and E.T. and Elliot's bond together, and Elliot has to save E.T., and nobody understands the bond that they have. And this very reminded me of that, just in terms of the reveals and everything, the relationship and everything. So what did you think about the healing power of the creature? I thought that was a good reveal, or a good thing to have, not only to kind of for Richard Jenkins to have a reason to sympathize with the character or to bond with the character when it heals him, and then it also gives him hair on his head and it accepts him for who he is. And when he has the scene in the pie store with the guy where he gets kicked out of the pie store, right? He has that whole thing happen to him, and then the creature actually accepts him. That's a big emotional moment in the movie. And so I think that works. And the scene that really worked for me was where Sally Hawkins is telling Richard Jenkins that he needs her help to break this thing out, and it's like, he accepts me. I mean, that moment is like top scene of the year, maybe. That was a great, just where he's reading her sign language. You know what I'm talking about? He accepts me for who I am. He sees me for me, and all that. He is me. And I just love that. I thought it was really well written and a perfect note to kind of really bring in the emotion of the movie, and it worked for me.
That like 90-second to 2-minute sequence or whatever that you're alluding to there with Eliza and Richard Jenkins' character. For me, I mean, that if I was to pick a highlight of the movie, that would be it. And I think that's a kind of a big success for the movie, given that it's a Del Toro movie, and that little sequence there doesn't really include anything like fantastical, like the merman's not in that. Right. He obviously is a big part of the conversation, but he's not in the scene or whatever. But I mean, if I was going into this movie, Lady Bird's my favorite movie of the year. I thought coming out of it when I saw that a couple months ago that Saoirse Ronan is Best Actress. But after seeing this and after seeing that sequence in particular, I was like, oh no, I think Sally might have just locked that up.
That one was it was incredible, and I thought Sally Hawkins deserves a lot of credit. She apparently did a lot of research here with Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, and going back and looking at how to interpret yourself without talking. And she deserves a lot of credit for this performance. And I thought the scenes that they had with the music and her watching the dancing on TV and all that, I thought that was really a stroke of genius to bring some character development in a character that doesn't say anything. So that was all good.
The degree of difficulty is pretty amazing.
Very difficult.
Go ahead, sorry.
Very difficult.
I'll be honest, I didn't know going in that she played a mute, and it took me like 1 minute to get adjusted to that, and I was like, oh wow. I mean, that it was one of the better performances I've seen in a very, certainly of the year, in a very long time. She did an incredible job with that.
What about the fact that Michael Shannon's character has the whole thing with the fingers being bitten off by the creature? That's his pinky and his ring finger, saying pinky representing the promise he has to the government to kill the creature and not let it escape or whatever he has, and the other finger representing his family life, and he sews them back on himself. And when he realizes that both of those things have gone awry, he rips off the fingers in this very dramatic moment. I thought that was a cool thing when the fingers rotting, and they're like, dude, have you smelled those things? Like that's such a
Del Toro thing.
That was it. But to me, the scene with that I was alluding to earlier with Eliza and Richard Jenkins, it really proves that Del Toro can make a great movie without a monster, and have a great team, exactly without a monster involved. And that is, like you said, Alex, that is exactly what he's known for. Is Pacific Rim, I loved it when the robot shot the monster in the face. That was awesome. no one ever talks about the dialogue scene between the two generals, right? Or something like that. So that's a very good point. Okay. Let me see anything else I have here. One other thing I want to note, just kind of how the movie ends, is it starts on the note of her floating in water and kind of dreaming of floating in water, and it of course ends with them floating in water, and that she has the scars the entire movie, and that apparently is what caused her to be mute. That injury caused her to be mute, and I love the kind of poetic note that ends up giving her life in the end. That becomes her gills, and she breathes this whole new life thanks to that injury. And it's just very poetic, and it's super cheesy. I understand that, like, wow, the gills now, cool, But I thought that was a very, it's an artistic way to do it, and this movie is an art project to me. This is more about one guy's vision for this story than it is trying to be this big franchise. I really feel like that with this. This is an art experiment or art statement by Guillermo del Toro, and I think this will be the most artsy, Oscar-y movie he might do. I think he might get out of his system and it's like, I'm going to go make Pac Rim movies now. I'm good, maybe. But yeah, that for me really worked well with the gills and her becoming a part of that and all that. I don't know how did you guys feel that this ended for you? It's always, the endings always can make or break it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was a little underwhelmed by it. Kind of rolled my eyes, unfortunately. It was just a little too on the nose for me. But I see it's trying to make a statement. Totally get your opinion on it. But for me, I couldn't get past the kind of cheesiness of it. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I'm with you. I felt like I could see it coming from the very beginning that's how it's going to this is going to play out. And I don't know. That's not necessarily a bad thing. There's ways that you can do that, and I'm not saying, I don't even know that it was, for me, was bad. It just was a little bit, to your point, Rich, it was a little more roll my eyes than it needed to be for the movie to come together perfectly for me at the end there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for sure. Like, I mean, one of my favorite things, one of my favorite marks of like a good movie is like how thought provoking it is after I leave the theater, and how much I really think about how much was I challenged by what I just saw, And I mean, if there's like one big complaint that I personally have with it is that, okay, like I get what's happened. It's certainly not. It's very direct. Obviously, like we're all talking about. It's really on the nose with what it's saying, and you have it, and it's there, and you leave the theater, and you can maybe think about some of the maybe some details about it. If anything, like I mentioned before, I kind of thought about more than anything like some of the technical stuff compared to Guillermo's previous work and Hawkins's performance. And, when you think about it, like some of my other favorite movies from this year on an allegorical level, I've been thinking about it for days and be like, man, what does that mean? What does that mean? But yeah, like this movie is really on the nose for sure. I won't disagree with that. And it's funny, like my bud that I went to see this with, shout out to him. He noticed this. So maybe I just turn off my brain sometimes with some details of some movies. But after we left, he was like, man, I feel like I'm so dumb for noticing that, like, I guess she had those 3 scars on both sides of her neck through the whole movie. Mm-hmm. And obviously early on, she indicates that, she points to that to indicates that, she's a mute. And of course you find out later on, well, I didn't, but he did, and pointed out to me that, she's kind of had those quote unquote gills that she gets physically at the end later on. So it's like, she's always had that. And he's like, I didn't say that coming. I'm like, well, I didn't even think about that. So that's such a Del Toroism for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. Just one note on Stuhlbarg, who's great in this too. He needs more attention.
Always great.
He's always the third. There's always like one guy ahead of him that gets the credit. But man, he was great. So Stuhlbarg, just in terms of the year that he's had, he will be, if things go as planned, he will be in 3 movies this year that are nominated for Best Picture. The Shape of Water, The Post, and Call Me by Your Name. He has roles in all of those. And also this year, Caleb Landry Jones, who we were introduced to this year, is in 3 movies as well. Get Out, 3 Billboards, and The Florida Project are all nominated for Best Dallas's Own. And that has not happened since John C. Reilly was was in the Hours, Chicago, and Gangs of New York, all in the same year, that were all Best Picture nominees. So that is a really weird movie fact. Of the
Second
year.
mention of the Hours in 2 episodes too. Most love it's gotten in 15 years. No one's talked about it since.
No one's talked about the Hours. But Stuhlbarg brought it, and I thought was my MVP of the movie. I really liked them, but I thought you really need that character to work for this movie to work, and that was perfect there. I really enjoyed that. Okay, so that's all I got on this. I guess the big message I got from Del Toro is like, who's worthy of love, right? That's the big message. Everybody is, no matter who you are, and that's really
Except
the
Dwayne
message.
Wade, not Dwayne Wade.
Not unless you played for the Miami Heat, 2006, 2007 season. You're not, or you reffed any of those games.
Yeah.
So I'm going to grade this out. Unless you guys have any closing thoughts on any of this, I'm going to hit my grade or prepare.
I've got one closing thought actually real quick that I just wanted to bring up. So I think like aside from what I mentioned was like just the, I guess, acting highlight of the movie, just straight up highlight of the movie, Hawkins' little making her point about why they need to save the creature with Jenkins' character. But aside from that, one of the little Del Toroisms that I really, really loved about this movie that was a little subtle that I didn't really think about until a couple days later when I was thinking about it and writing my review of it was I love how Eliza she's never afraid of the creature. From early on when they're wheeling this big old tank into the room filled with water, more than anything, she's curious. She walks right up to it, and of course she's startled when the hand hits the pane, all that good stuff. But after that, she's never afraid. She's always got that sense of curiosity, and I think more than anything that, to me at least, what I took away from it, like that little subtle trait of hers, kind of captured Del Toro's message and the message that he wanted to provide with this movie as a whole, which is, when we see something new and different, we shouldn't be our first reaction to it shouldn't be fear. It should be something about curiosity. And then when we really get to know something, as Richard Jenkins finds out, and then Eliza later on, it can have even the power to heal. And I think that definitely goes along with the on the nose allegory for sure that Del Toro brings with his story. But that was one of the little subtle things I loved about it. While everyone else is kind of recoiling and reacting to it with fear, like Shannon is and all the scientists, you never see that with Eliza, and I love that about it. So that's it for me.
When he said that he wrote this for Sally, he said she had to be a beautiful person, but also a person that you would believe would be sitting next to you on a bus and would have all these things that could happen. And I thought she was perfectly believable in this, and
I love
that worked really well.
Okay, sure.
I'm gonna hit my grade. I'm gonna give this an A. Solid A. It would be A+, not for a couple things, but it's about as good as I could have hoped for this to be. I was prepared to be let down, honestly, but I was moved for sure. I was definitely moved. So an A for me. Okay, the guest.
Straight A for me too. Lingering a little bit on A-. I think when I first came out of this a couple weeks ago, it was definitely knocking on the door of At Pan's Labyrinth as my favorite Del Toro movie. But I think after a couple more weeks of thinking about it and talking about it with you guys, I think I think I can safely put it as a solid third behind that and Fate and Devil's Backbone. And that's certainly not as much an indictment against it as much as I just love like the originality of those other two movies. Again, kind of surprised really surprised that this is getting awards buzz that it is, other than the technical stuff and Hawkins' performance. But hey, maybe that's just a recognition of Del Toro's career as a whole. They like to do that. So straight A for me.
Cool. All right, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like B to B plus is like my standard Del Toro grade at this point. Like I'm always in that same boat. I love the story so much at times, and there are definitely, as I mentioned, there's plenty of bad. Sally Hawkins is so good. To me, Sally Hawkins is worth seeing the movie for. She's incredible. That's I haven't seen The Post yet, and there's one other that has like a big time female lead performance that I haven't seen yet. But this I mean, I would vote her. I would probably vote her over Frances McDormand for Three Billboards, and I thought she was incredible in that. Like, I was mesmerized by her on screen, and loved the acting so much. I guess I just wish I loved the movie as much as I loved the performances overall. But
Cool.
but yeah, like I get it. It's fine. There's some real virtues to it. Just for me, it's almost most in the look and the acting so much more than the movie. Richard, how about you?
I'm gonna go. Gosh, a little bit. I'm gonna go. I'll go B minus. But yeah, B minus to B for me right in there. But yeah, no, Hawkins is great, and some of the performances really elevate this, and some of the directorial choices really elevate this, and some of them kind of demerit this some. So it's just kind of an uneven watch for me. But some really great moments and some great performances, and for someone, there's a certain amount of my friends and people I know that I would heartily recommend this for. But it doesn't get like the everyone would like this, which is normally like what an A is.
Exactly, man. This has such a, I don't know, film school quality to it, doesn't it? Though, like you're gonna be, let's review The Shape of Water in 10 years. It's got that. Del Toro is, like I said, it's not shy about his messages at all. That's for sure. Okay, let's move on and hit a weekly recommend.
Weekly recommends.
Okay, we will start off with our guest, Alex, for his recommend.
Yeah, so right about this time last year, I remember hearing about this little French movie that was maybe possibly going to hit theaters. You could tell it was like a small-time indie thing, even if it did limited run 1 or 2 weeks in theaters. It's called Raw, and I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. I didn't catch it in theaters. Like I said, I must have been some other stuff in the time that took priority. But it was on Netflix. It's been on for a couple months. Finally caught it yesterday, and it's holy crap! First of all, I mean, it's basically, to put it like in the elevator pitch, it's like a coming of age story, like directed by like Dario Argento about like cannibalism. And I know that sounds really weird, but it's a really fantastic little tale about this, like I said, this French girl who goes to vet school. And I mean, but not to get into spoilers, people are intrigued to watch it because I definitely recommend it. She like anyone maybe just now starting to go into college, she discovers some vices, she discovers some new interests and things like that, and hers just happens to be a little more gorier than some other ones. So it's just a kind of a perfect little, an interesting, eccentric coming of age tale disguised as something, this little sprinkling of horror in there. It doesn't go all in on the cannibalism trope of it, but it touches on it, and it's kind of another like sisterly bonding movie too, which was really unexpected about it. So I definitely seek that out on Netflix. It's not, there's a couple cover your eyes moments just out of the ooh yeah kind of moments of it, but other than that, it's definitely an enticing watch and one of my favorites of the year. So I'd seek that out on Netflix Raw.
Cool. I have seen that, but I'm glad that it got your endorsement, and I will check that out. Cool. Okay, Brian.
I'm going to recommend a movie that is on Amazon Prime that you can check out. I think I recommended this earlier in the year, but it was not accessible to I say earlier in the year. At some point in 2017, it wasn't accessible to anybody at that point. So it is now. And I know a couple of friends had heard my recommend and said, oh, I want to see that. So now it's out there. So please check out A Ghost Story, which is Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. David Lowery, who we love. I think Dallas's Own. Am I right on that?
Yes, David Lowery is Dallas's Own. Yep.
Love David Lowery.
Shot that movie in Dallas, as a matter of fact. Yep.
It's got a real chance of getting into my top 10. I don't know about yours, Kent. It's simple. It's so small. To me, it's like a perfect example of like what you can do, what any good filmmaker can do with extremely limited resources. And it's like why I get frustrated when Justice League sucks, and it's like, how did you do that with $300 million at your disposal when David Lowery shot this for like $3,000 on an iPhone? You know what I mean? Like to me, it's like a prime. The material's a little weird and out there, but it's a beautiful movie, and it looks awesome, and it's I don't know, it's like an incredible example of what you can do as a filmmaker, and I quite enjoyed it. So it's out there, it's available now, and I hope some of our listeners will check it out.
Very cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and check out our eventual top 10 list, maybe for some more combo on that.
For sure.
Coming. All right, I'm going to recommend a documentary this week that I saw on Netflix. It is a documentary about art called Blurred Lines Inside the Art World, and this documentary is really about the art houses and how they have kind of inflated what the value of art is, and these art houses that have sold paintings for $200 million, $300 million for a painting. And it really has caused this kind of weird conversation about what the value of somebody's art is, if there even is a monetary value you can put on it, and kind of this ripple effect that it's had in how people make art. Like there's a section in here where they talk about artists that create art solely for the purpose of selling it. Like, is that art then? So it's a really intellectually kind of stimulating conversation, but it's also very informative from a educational standpoint on kind of that world of like, how do paintings get in museums and things like that, is really informative from that aspect. So it's on Netflix. It's called Blurred Lines Inside the Art World. Not great from a production standpoint, but a very informative documentary. If you know nothing about that, I would suggest watching that if you have Netflix. So check that out, Blurred Lines. Not the Robin Thicke music video, but check that out too if you can.
Recommend that as well, and the Marvin Gaye song that it stole from.
Right.
Just cover all Blurred Lines. I feel like.
Shout out to Miley. All right, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend a podcast that I know you two have listened to, and we recommended earlier in the year on a different subject. The Origins podcast is back. It did the Curb Your Enthusiasm kind of oral history. It's like a podcast oral history is the best way to describe it, by James Miller, who does oral history books. He did the ESPN book, and he did the CAA book and the SNL book, and he's just a really kind of interesting culture writer, media writer. And he has a new podcast, and he has a podcast called Origins, and he does like 2 or 3 seasons a year about a different topic. First, like I said, was Curb Your Enthusiasm. The second one is about ESPN. And it's a really interesting. I like it more. I love sports, but the more I've listened to this, and I was like, gosh, I would pretty much recommend this to anyone. The first episode is about the social media policy of ESPN and the issues they've had with Jamel Hill and various other people. How do you tell employees like what they can and can't publish, especially in a really public facing company? And it's just a really interesting sort of management, even though it's about ostensibly sports and sports media. It's a really interesting study on how the world has really changed and how corporations should act. And it's just, I found it to be a really captivating hour and a half, and loved it. And then the second episode is about my favorite show of all time, Pardon the Interruption, which is the greatest show in ESPN history and probably television history, I would say. The most impactful and favorite show. And it's about the history of that show and what makes it unique. And that's a really interesting, cool story and really fun characters on it, but also B, how it really effective on like how to manage something, how to build a small business, how to actually operate something cool and maintain your sanity and and how to break the mold within the mold, kind of in a way, and really do something interesting and innovate within it. It's just a really, I thought, really smartly executed podcast. So both those episodes are great, but the second one, episode 2 on PTI, is the best, and Mr. Tony is king of all of us.
Incredible listen. I mean, I blew through both of those yesterday, I guess, and that's some of my favorite. Yeah. Some of my favorite podcast listening ever, really. I mean, it's unreal. Even if you're not, there's not a whole lot of people who are like, nope, just totally out on ESPN completely. Not familiar. I'm unfamiliar with the subject. But it's really good listen. Period.
Yeah, very very cool. If you've seen PTI, on just kind of how the show was built, why they have the clock, why they have the rundown, why it's called PTI, and Pardon the Interruption. It's very cool. I loved it, how Easter eggy it was, and I feel way more informed now on the show. I like the show more now after listening to that. Very cool. Very good. And the Curb episodes were great, too. If you haven't heard those, that's a side recommend, too. Go back and listen to those. Those are wonderful. And companion that with our rants and raves, Curb Your Enthusiasm, now in your podcast feed from Mad About Movies. Okay, Brian, where can we find you online, sir?
You can find me on the Twitter at bgill12. You can find my writing at madaboutmoviespodcast.com.
Richard, where can we find you?
You can find me on all social media at Richard Barton or the Mad About Movies podcast newsletter, which will be out 1st of February. Alex, my friend, thank you for joining us. Would you like to do you stay secret? Do you want to give out your social media, or maybe your if you write movie reviews where we could maybe find those?
Oh no, I'm very much on the social media. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at AlexLynch695. And yeah, if you guys would let me indulge myself and plug my little blog, it's dalexlynch.wordpress.com. I have all my reviews on there, and yeah, that's where you can find those.
D as in letter D?
Yeah, D as in
AlexLynch.wordpress.com. Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
What was your social media handle again?
AlexLynch695.
Nice.
What was your social security number again?
Too. Yeah, social
1, 2, they don't.
At some point this year, we think we'll have some of Alex's stuff on our website or in the newsletter.
Cool. Contributor. You got the stamp of approval.
I'd be happy to do it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for being here tonight. Next week, we're talking The Post. So until then, for Brian and Richard, I'm Kent. We'll see you next time at the cinema. Goodbye.
Hey, baby, I hear the blues are calling. Tossed salads and scrambled eggs. And maybe I seem a bit confused. Yeah, maybe, but I got you pegged. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face.
They're making me yah-yah. Your salads and scrambled eggs.
They're calling again.